date is May the 11th. No, it isn't. It's April the 11th, 1975. I'm at the Quinta Country Club in California, and I'm seated opposite one of the great tennis names of all time, Ellsworth Vines, who just told me that he received his first tennis racket in a very early age. What age was it, Ellsworth?
It was 5 years old, and the racket was given to me by my father.
Who was a ranking tennis player?
Well, he wasn't a ranking tennis player. He was just a good public court player here in Los Angeles.
All right, carry us forward from the age of 5. When did you really start getting into some good hot tennis games?
I really didn't start to get into, we'll say, boys competitive tennis until I was about 13 years old.
And what contests were those?
Well, they were local Southern California boys tournaments, and I think junior high school and high school tournaments.
This is Southern California?
Yes.
You were born where, in Santa Barbara, was it?
No, I was born in Los Angeles. I'm a native Californian.
And then came college competition?
Well, not really. I attended USC for 2 years, but I was selected for the Davis Cup team my second year of college, so I dropped out of college and played on the Davis Cup team.
How did you make out?
I played well on the Davis Cup. Of course, you don't always win all the matches that you go after, but I had my share.
All right, now let's go up to 1930 when you were at the beginning of that season ranked 8th, I believe.
That's right.
What did you do to get up from that place, which you did rather rapidly?
Well, at the end of 1930, I was ranked number 8, and I had absorbed a couple of pretty good defeats by Sidney Wood. So I came back to California, particularly at the LA Tennis Club, and I worked on my game all through that winter, and I went forward from there.
Who were your formative coaches?
Well, I only had one tennis professional coach, and that was Mercer Beasley.
What did he do for you to push you up from 8 at that point? What were your weaknesses?
I had a weakness of not being able to return a relatively soft ball. I was always a hard hitter, and the harder the ball came to me, generally it went back just as hard or harder. But when I had to generate my own speed off of a very slow ball, I had the tendency to overhit all the time. And consequently, I lost plenty of points that way.
Who were the guys that drove you nuts with their powder puff balls?
Well, basically Sidney Wood. And at that time, we had a player by the name of Cliff Sutter, who was ranked in the first 5, I believe, in 1930.
You say you were a hard hitter, and that's undoubtedly true. You were known as the hardest hitter in the game. How would your miles per hour on that tennis ball compare to some of the sluggers today? For example, Jimmy Connors hits an awfully hard ball.
Well, I think that I hit the ball just as hard, or maybe harder, than anyone out there that I have seen play today. The tennis rackets haven't changed. They're about the same size. You can only string a tennis racket so tight. I think maybe the ball that we played with was a little faster because it didn't have that extra heavy cover on it. And it seems to me that the compression of the ball at that time was a little higher than what it is now.
What do you think of the resurgence of the steel racket?
Well, I have tried to hit some shots. My daughter has a steel strung racket, and personally, I didn't like it. The ball came off of there with sort of a thud. I don't think you have the touch with a steel racket that you do with the wood racket, and I've noticed in some of the matches that I've watched that in the last year or so that more of the players are going back to the wood racket.
But let's get up to 1931, and you have that gut-strung racket in your hand, and you're up to the finals. And who are you facing?
I was facing George Lott, and fortunately, I won in 4 sets.
How did the sets go?
Well, it seems to me, as I recall, that I lost the first set and won the next 3. I know that George was very upset. He had a pretty good temper.
All right, let's start back again before we were so inevitably interrupted, and talk about coming in. Were you seated going into the 31 contest?
Yes, I was. I don't recall just offhand, but it seems to me like I was seated either 2 or 3.
Which means that you met who on your first contest there?
That I really couldn't tell you.
Do you remember who you played in the semifinals?
As I recall, I played Fred Perry in the semifinals.
One of the men who was in the game for a long time.
Yes.
Who were some of the other outstanding players you played during that period?
Well, of course, it was Frank Shields, Francis Hunter, Johnny Doig, John Hennessy, Clifford Sutter. Lester Stoffen was playing at that time. And I had played Bill Tilden in 1930 and was defeated by him, but he turned professional at the end of that season and didn't play in 31, as I recall.
Well, I guess he was the grand old man even at that time, because he was an older man than you. Tell us about some of the other aspects of your amateur career, because you came back in 32 to defend your title. Could you tell us what happened in 32?
Well, in 1932, I was seeded number 1, and I finally met Henri Cochet of France in the finals, and I beat him in 3 straight sets, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4.
Now, I haven't got the records, but did you compete the following year?
Yes, I did. I went back to Forest Hills the following year, 1933. 33. And Bitsy Grant beat me in the round of 16, as I recall.
You let a little fellow like that beat you?
Well, it was the first time that he ever beat me, but he did it at the right time.
How did he do it?
Well, as I told you before, I was susceptible to a rather softball type of game, and he just kept getting them back, and I kept missing the lines or hitting the net, top of the net, and before I knew it, I was out of the tournament.
Is that what today they call being psyched out of it?
No, it wasn't being psyched out of it. He just had the type of game that didn't fit mine too well.
All right. Well, now let's take you to the other side of the ocean. How about Wimbledon?
Well, I went to Wimbledon in 1931, and I won the championship. No, I beg your pardon. I went there in 1932 for the first time, and I won the championship the first time out. I think that's one of the few times up until that time that a player had entered Wimbledon for the first time and went all the way.
You were almost exclusively a singles player.
Yes, although I partnered Keith Gledhill to win the national doubles title one year. We won the doubles championship of Australia. We were not quite that successful at Wimbledon. I think we lost in the semifinals or quarterfinals one year. But we played George Lott and Lester Stoffen. We played against Wilmer Allison and John Van Ryn and never lost to them.
You didn't come back in 33 because something happened in your career.
No, I went back to Wimbledon in 1933 and reached the finals, where I lost in 5 sets to Jack Crawford of Australia.
What I was reaching for is you turned pro in that year, right?
At the end of 33, yes.
What did being a pro mean in 1933 and from the successive years? A little different from today, I understand.
Yes, it was different. It meant a lack of tournament competitive play, although I was playing against Bill Tilden and subsequently Fred Perry, George Lott turned pro, and Budge turned professional. So I had plenty of competition.
Budge was a very interesting player to watch.
Yes, he came on toward the end of my professional career. In fact, the last year, 1939.
How about money in those days, Ellsworth?
Well, the money wasn't like it is today. It was, for those times, it was more than adequate. And don't forget that we only had 4 players to cut up the gate receipts. You know, it's not like 16 or 32 players like they have now. And we were playing exhibitions 3, 4, 5 nights a week. I can remember traveling in the spring and the summer of 1934 when we played 16 nights out of 17 days and must have covered 2,000-3,000 miles.
And this was an all-men's sport at that time?
Yes. There were a few. Suzanne Longland had turned professional, and I think she played against Mary Kay Brown, and but not in our tour.
What do you? How do you feel about this sudden emergence where the women seem to be getting equal or even greater focus on them in team play?
Well, I think it's great. I'm all for the gals. As a matter of fact, personally, when I watch the tennis, either at the matches or on TV, I would rather watch the girls play than the men because they don't put the ball away as fast. They maneuver one another around the court. They have excellent strokes. And to me, it's just a more scientific game the way they play it as compared to the men. Guy with a big serve, the other fellow moves in, and if he doesn't hit a winner, you have very few rallies.
What about the prize money? Are they entitled to make their squawks against Wimbledon, etc.? In cases where they are not being awarded the same prize, or is it still primarily a man's game?
Well, I think it's primarily a man's game, but I think they're entitled to a fair share of the gate receipts. Don't forget that Wimbledon has been going for 50 or more years, maybe 75 years, and Wimbledon had it all their way for all those years. They never paid any expenses, and yet they made an awful lot of money out of the players being there.
I'm not being frivolous when I say, what about the change in outfits now? In your day, and I parenthetically mine, although I was not a competitive player, we darn near couldn't show up in the court with anything that wasn't virginal white.
That's right, and not only that, you had to wear long trousers. But I think with the mode of dress today and the new outlook today, I like the outfits not only the men wear, but I certainly do the women too.
How about those long trousers? Did they sew you up?
I really don't think so. I think you were hotter playing in them than you would be in shorts, but I have yet to see a player of today's caliber that could get around the court any faster than Fred Perry.
Or Bitsy Grant, although he sometimes did it on his belly.
Yeah, Bitsy Grant was pretty fast.
How about the change in scoring?
I don't like that at all. I just can't see winning a match in the final set by 7-6 or something like that by 1 point. I don't like the tiebreaker score at all.
What was the longest set you were ever engaged in before the days of sudden playoff, sudden death?
Well, the longest single set that I was engaged in was a set that I played with Bill Tilden in the Los Angeles as a professional. I won the fourth set, I believe, 21-19. I've played in the doubles where Keith Gledhill and myself, I think we played Bill Tilden and the boy by the name of Bruce Barnes, where we won 28-26.
What period of time did that take?
Probably about 2 hours and a half. The same as a 5-set match, practically.
You must have been pretty exhausted after that.
Yes. We were exhausted. I feel today when I read where a player says he's exhausted from playing, it even if he's played 2 or 3 or 4 tournaments in a row, it makes me a little sick to my stomach to hear a young fellow say that. I played 13 consecutive tournaments one summer. I happened to win 11 of them. And during our professional matches, I was playing against the best players of the world, not only, every day, and not only singles, but I was playing doubles after the singles matches. And these fellows are playing today. They get a couple days rest, Monday or Tuesday, and then they play a poor player the first couple of rounds. And at the end of the tournament, they say, I'm tired. I just can't understand it.
Maybe they play more games at night.
Well, that's possible.
Did you lead a Spartan life during your playing years, or were you the playboy?
No, I led a pretty good training life. I didn't drink. I've never smoked. When I was playing tennis, I was always in shape. Let's put it that way.
How long ago did you give up tennis as a competitive sport?
My last year was 1939, and I played a number of matches against Don Budge. And my last competitive match was, I believe, in January or February of 1940 when I went to New York and played several matches for the Finnish Relief.
And then what did you do?
Well, I had started a little bit in golf starting about 1936, and I'd felt that my career had run as far as tennis was concerned, so I went very seriously into golf. Took many lessons, played some amateur golf, and eventually went into professional golf.
And you are now teaching golf and are a golf pro out here?
Well, I'm not the golf professional here at the club. I'm just a member here at the present time. I do give some lessons, but only to certain of my friends, and I don't even charge them for them.
What does the future hold for Ellsworth Vines?
Well, I don't know, maybe the grave. I'll be 64 years old in September, so I'm not looking for any more worlds to conquer, although I must say that I'm connected with a company that is going to build a 27-hole golf course right across the street here at the La Quinta Hotel.
But you have no desire to teach?
Not really. My job over there, I'll be director of golf and tennis activities, which means that I arrange the golfing events and the tennis events and see that the teaching professionals are on the job and so on.
Are you going to stage any matches over there?
Oh, yes. We'll have some good tennis matches, and we're going to have a little stadium court over there. And I imagine that we'll try to have a number of very outstanding golf tournaments.
If you had your druthers, as they say, would you have continued in tennis indefinitely?
I don't think so. I played so many matches with Bill Tilden, and I saw him go from the peak to where he couldn't really match strokes with any of the good players, although he was still trying, and I just didn't want to be in that position. I'd had it.
Go out at the top.
That's what I wanted to do.
Well, it's been a delight talking to you. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the visitors at the Hall of Fame as they go around looking at the trophies and the memorabilia of a day when tennis was a country club sport rather than a public city game?
Well, the only thing that I would like to say that I think the Tennis Hall of Fame is a great thing. I think it's great for the game of tennis. Personally, I liked the game years ago when it was more of a social game than it is now. I particularly liked the marvelous grass courts that they had at Newport. I happened to win the tournament there one year. And also the grass courts at Forest Hills, which I now understand they're going to dig up and put into clay or some special preparation. I know the game has gone forward, particularly in the numbers of players and probably in the numbers of relatively good players, tournament players. To me, I don't think the top players today are any better than the top players of my time. I can't conceive of anyone that I have seen ever beating Bill Tilden at his peak. I think there are more good players because there's more players playing. But it's a great game, and it's certainly increased in popularity, and I'm all for it for anyone that wants to play.
Well, maybe in another climb we'll see Bill Tilden trying his hand against Rod Laver, huh?
I'd like to play him sometime again.
Which one?
Either one of them.
Good. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, it's been my pleasure, too.